my friends, and good evening from 2021. As we are tonight, we're recovering a recording that was lost to us during our Advent series. And our Advent series this year was so powerful and so well received that as we thought, should we let it go or should we recreate some of the special moments? We decided, you know what, we really want this for posterity, and also to be able to be used in the follow-on years of both Ken's great teaching pieces, the liturgy, and the beautiful music that we put together. So welcome tonight to a smaller version recording of Sanctuary Online. And just like we're going to do tonight, just move yourself back to December 8th. I hope wherever you were, it was a beautiful night. You had a great meal, and you're just excited to sign in to Advent 2 of Sanctuary Online. So welcome, folks. Let's go back in time a little bit. I'm going to share my screen and welcome everyone tonight to Sanctuary Online. And what we do here at Sanctuary Online, every Tuesday night we come and we open ourselves and open this Zoom room, and we love to see all your faces. So thank you for folks for showing up tonight and for putting yourselves on gallery view, talking and having great conversation in the chat box, and really being present to us. We love to know where people sign in from and email addresses. So if we were seeing us this recording for the first time, and this is how you're connecting to Sanctuary Online, you can always email us at talktous@sanctuaryinthewoods.live, talktous@sanctuaryinthewoods.live, and we will reach out to you, add you to our mailing list, and so you can become a part of this amazing Sanctuary family. Again, for many of you, you know that we are a nonprofit retreat center building ourselves outside of Austin, Texas. We also have expanded our brand with Sanctuary at Sea, Sanctuary on the Road, and tonight you're attending Sanctuary Online. As many of you know, the last week of the month is our beloved book conversation. Not quite a club, but definitely a conversation. And in January 26th, we are going to be discussing the book, The Paying Guests by Sarah Waters. So we welcome you to that conversation. And again, want to just open up. This has been our Advent series where last week, December 1st, we talked about hope. And Kim and her girls offered the liturgy for us. Tonight, Hannah and Reverend Stedney will be offering the liturgy for us. Next week is Edie Disler and her kids. And the fourth week, Tuesday, December 22nd, Jane Ann from Canada will be our international flavor. And each week, we spend the evening opening with liturgy, a great teaching of what the world's great living religions believe about and how they practice the theme of the week, hope or peace or joy or love. Then we have a community conversation, and we close with a beautiful musical piece. So tonight, I invite you to settle in and enjoy Tuesday, December 8th, which is peace. Again, thanking Kim and her girls for last week, and thanking Reverend Stedney and Hannah for doing our liturgy. Tonight, what's going to happen is that Cheryl and I will be stepping in for Stedney and Hannah. We're nowhere going to do as good a job as they did. It won't be quite as precious, but you'll get the idea. So if you have your Advent wreath ready or a candle, you can join us to light our candle.
So quiet right now.
As community. Ken, if you'd open the reading.
Yes. God of light, bless this Advent candle of peace, that we may be your light and your warmth to all we meet during this holy season.
We know that you are at work to restore all of creation to its original harmony.
Renew your promise of peace in us, that we may look forward with confidence to the day when
the wolf will live with the lamb.
The leopard will lie down with the goat.
The calf and the lion will eat together.
And a little child shall lead them.
Give us your peace, your shalom, in our lives, our relationships, our homes, our nation, and our world.
Make us instruments of your peace.
We light the second Advent candle. We light the candle of peace.
Thank you, Ken and Cheryl, for lighting the candles tonight. And Ken, I'm going to give it to you. I remember this teaching that you did beautifully, so I'm going to sit in and settle in and get to listen to it for a second time. So all yours, my friend. God bless and thank you.
Thank you, Joey. So last week we explored the first theme of Advent, or hope. First in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the three great religions of the West. And then in Hinduism and Buddhism, the two greatest religions of the East. So this week, our theme is peace. And the first thing we can say about peace is that it is at the heart of all religions, for the simple reason that none of the other objectives of religion can ever be realized without peace. The second thing is that the standards and the values for peace that every religion establishes and prescribes for societies and for nations, it also prescribes for every individual person and every interaction between human beings. This week, we're going to look at peace in each of those same religions, and then we're going to see that for centuries, the religion that has been thought of as the most peaceful religion in the world is one that we haven't even talked about yet. Now, all of these great religions that we are talking about began in a time when the world was more violent, it was more cruel, it was more brutal than most of us can even imagine. Like, we take the idea of the sacredness of individual life and human personality like almost for granted. And while it's easy to talk legitimately about the violence that false religion has caused in our world, the idea that there can be personal peace, the idea that peace can exist between nations and tribes and peoples, is due primarily because of these great religions. So by the time the Hebrew people came up out of Egypt after generations of slavery, and by the time they had wandered around in the desert for 40 years, they were little more than a loosely knit group of nomadic tribes. The book of Leviticus tells us that the only way they even survived during all those years in the desert was by constantly fighting off the loosely knit groups of marauding thieves who followed them and preyed upon, attacked any of them who might fall behind. The only thing that held them together was that they had this magnificent vision of a promised land, that if they just kept going, they would reach this promised land where they would finally all be able to live together in peace. And they put all of the hope of that vision into one Hebrew word. The word is shalom. The word shalom means peace, but it also means harmony and prosperity and tranquility and contentment. So the passages from Isaiah, like the ones we heard last week and the ones we heard this evening, where wild animals will lie down and sleep with their prey, that's a kind of a poetic image of Judaism's ideal human society, where people would willingly destroy their weapons, where there would be no more war, where human relationships and society are based on peace as the absence of violence.
Yeah.
As we heard last week, the Hebrews then, as they began to settle down, began to hear again these prophecies of a Messiah who would come as a Prince of Peace, who would create a world totally devoid of violence. There's a wonderful story in Judaism about a young boy during this holiday season who goes to his rabbi and he says, "Rabbi, all of my Christian friends say that Messiah has already come." And the rabbi says, go to the window and look out. The boy goes, looks out, comes back, and the rabbi says, tell me what you saw. And the young boy says, I saw a man beating his donkey. And the rabbi says, then Messiah has not come. On this day, December the 8th, 2020, the United States government recognizes 18 full-blown wars and 576 armed conflicts taking place on our planet. In all of them, people are fighting and dying today. For Jews, that means the Prince of Peace has not come. The Messiah has not yet come. For those of us who are Christians, it means that we have not yet obeyed the commandments, that we seek peace and that we treat others exactly like we would have them treat us. So last week we saw that Christianity was born out of Judaism. So like the theme of hope last week, this idea of peace is part of Christianity's inheritance from its parent religion of Judaism. But in the world into which Christianity was born, the Greeks hated the Jews hated the Samaritans, everybody hated the Romans. So Christianity was born at the very beginning of a 200-year period of history that historians call Pax Romana, or the Roman peace. This was the time during which the Roman Empire spread out into almost all of the known world. And when it said, we declare that everywhere we go, we bring peace, or the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. But that was a peace that was won by violence and by coercion. It was a peace won by the suppression of any kind of opposition and with a brutal disregard for human life whenever that became necessary. So Roman imperial theology said, there will be peace on earth when everything is quiet and orderly because we control everything and everybody. Now remember that Jesus was a good Jew, and he knew that in those later Hebrew prophets, they began to talk about the fact that peace is not just the absence of violence, but peace is also the presence of justice. So Jesus commanded all of his followers to seek justice for everyone equally, especially those who were marginalized, who were outcast, who were oppressed. And so Christian theology became, there will be peace on earth when there is justice for everyone equally on earth as it is in heaven. So it was literally Christian theology that we heard all summer on the streets of our cities by those seeking racial equity, chanting, no justice, no peace. Not just peace is the absence of violence, but peace means justice. If there is no justice, then there is no peace. Now, the third great Western religion is Islam, and we all know the controversy that has arisen because of the violence perpetrated by terrorists who call themselves Muslims. So here are just a couple of facts. The word Islam comes from the Arab word salam, which means peace. And in the Quran, this is the Quran, the holy book of Islam. In the Quran, Allah urges all Muslims to work for peace, to always practice moderation in all things, and to make the highest qualities you strive for in your life, kindness and love and respect for others. And Muhammad, their prophet, says, quote, a Muslim is a person whose hands and whose tongue never harm another person, close quote, close quote. So true Muslims try to tell us that terrorists are not true Muslims. They don't want to be judged by terrorists any more than I, as a Christian, want to be judged by the inquisitors of the old world who call themselves Christians and who hanged and roasted and quartered thousands of people for impure doctrine. They don't want to be judged by terrorists any more than I want to be judged by those calling themselves Christians in the New World who burned and hanged women as witches. And by the way, all those women, most of those women, just happened to be widows whose land the church then confiscated after it burned and hanged them as witches. And honestly, there's still a lot of people in the world today calling themselves Christians that I don't particularly want to be associated with. So of these three great Western religions, we can say that all of them teach this ideal of peace in personal relationships, in interactions between groups and the nations, not by force or coercion, but by choice, and not just as the absence of violence, but also as the presence of justice. Now, when we turn to the great Eastern religions, we find this same ideal of peace is always present, but there is a very different approach to it. Last week, we learned that Hinduism is the world's oldest religion, and all other major Eastern religions in some way flow out of Hinduism. That Buddhism, for instance, grew out of Hinduism in much the exact same way that Christianity grew out of Judaism. The most fundamental teaching of Hinduism is simply non-dualism, the idea that all things are one, even that all things are the same, even that the creator and the creation are the same, because the creator is alive in all of the creation. So peace as non-violence is literally where Hinduism begins, because to harm anything would be to harm everything, even oneself, even the creator. By the way, Christian mystics often echoed this theme, one of them writing, "All things near and far, hiddenly so connected are that you cannot pick a flower without stirring a star." So early in Hinduism, this became known as the teaching of ahimsa, or the reverence for all of life. Buddhism accepted ahimsa as it was taught in Hinduism, and it emphasized that this reverence for life demanded peace in all individual relationships and in all social interactions. Mahatma Gandhi, India's leader for independence in the 20th century, who was a devout Hindu, said that after he read the Christian Gospels, especially the Sermon on the Mount in the Gospel of Matthew, once he understood the teachings of Jesus, he combined that with his teaching of ahimsa to create his doctrine of satyagraha, or the power of the soul, or the force of truth, a non-violent philosophy that defeated the British Empire and led to India's independence. And then Dr. Martin Luther King said it was Gandhi's teaching of satyagraha as a force of the soul, or a uniquely spiritual power, that led him to his teaching of nonviolent social change that fueled the civil rights movement in the United States. And then in 1998, when Coretta Scott King, Dr. King's widow, told Mel White that he needed to study her husband's teachings, that's what led him to create an organization called Soul Force, which still today practices nonviolent opposition to spiritual violence against sexual minority people. So you see how we understand better now, don't we, what Dr. King meant when he said the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. But I promised you another religion as the world's most peaceful religion. So about the same time Buddhism was emerging out of Hinduism, another Hindu teacher named Mahavira was establishing a religion today known as Jainism or the Jain Dharma.
Yep.
There are about 5 to 10 million Jains in the world today. Most of them live in India, but during the last century, about a third of them have migrated into the West. And today, there are 26 major Jain temples in the United States. Like Hinduism and Buddhism, Jainism believes in reincarnation and that the purpose of human life is to achieve enlightenment so that one does not have to be reborn and come back to live another life. What Mahavira taught was an extreme, many people even say a radical observance of ahimsa, or the reverence for all of life, as the way to escape having to be reincarnated. Jainism is made up, like most religions are, of lay people and a religious order. The religious order are monks, and the lay people can achieve escape from rebirth by lives of extreme asceticism and by supporting their monks. The monks achieve enlightenment and escape from rebirth by practicing extreme ahimsa. Even today in India, it's very easy to identify Jain monks because they walk around in public totally naked for fear that clothing might accidentally entrap some small insect or other form of life and destroy it. They also wear masks all the time for fear that they might inadvertently inhale some small organism and destroy it. And they walk very slowly, carrying straw brooms with which they sweep the path in front of them in case they might accidentally step on some living form of life. For those reasons, Jainism has for centuries been called the most peaceful religion in the world. So whether it is as just the absence of violence, or whether it is the presence of justice, or whether it is a way to maintain balance and harmony among all living things, or whether it is a way to escape rebirth, every one of the world's living religions places peace among its highest values. Thank you.
Wow. Well, Ken, Cheryl, I'm going to say you and I should do what we do normally each week, and we should unmute and applaud. Oh, thank you. I know a Jane, so that's a great reflection of my experience with that person at school when I was going through seminary. But I was also just loving the connection all the way down, even through to Mel White and to the role that Soul Force played, right? Or is playing still in our world. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Ken. Listening to that for a second time reminds me why we decided to do this re-recording. And so thank you so much for that. I'm going to cruise us through our slides and just show people that they missed an amazing community conversation around great seasonal foods and recipes. Oh my goodness. This is one of my favorite before and after shots of dinner at Sanctuary. This had to be, was this your Thanksgiving dinner, Ken, or was this a previous
that was
dinner?
Christmas. That was Christmas.
Previous Christmas dinner. Yeah, there you go. So that was wonderful conversation right there. And we also said besides foods, we were open to people's shared recipes. And so this is a couple photographs of a recipe from Cheryl's mom's Honolulu hermits and grandmothers, right, Cheryl, of passed down through the ages. A favorite that we, of course, had again this Christmas.
Yes.
And my mom's peanut butter chewies. My goodness, my nephews, my brothers, she can't keep them in the house during Christmas. So we had a real vibrant conversation all around food. And then oh my God, well, how could I forget this? Tom's cookies, right? Tom's cookies. And what is this? This is reindeer food, Ken?
Reindeer food. Reindeer food.
And then this led into a whole conversation of Jane Ann Murray, who telling us of the thousands and tens of thousands of shortbread cookies she makes every Christmas. And people began ordering them right here on the session. Remember that, you guys? That night, people began ordering. And Jane lovingly sent shortbread cookies from Toronto to all over the place and donated the money those folks would have donated to or paid to Jane Ann. She donated that to Sanctuary to help us stay online. So God bless Jane Ann. Thank you for that. And the next week, week 3 of Advent, we were going to have a great, and we did, since I'm speaking in the past tense, conversation around ornaments, and folks sent ornaments in, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful conversation. So again, part of our way of having a community conversation and staying close together. Tonight, we're going to finish with Darcel Cole offering a beautiful song, and I have a couple slides here, and we've got the lyrics to go with it, but I'm going to